Hello, testing everyone. Okay, let me just test on my side, see if everything looks and sounds okay. It seems to, okay. Just get this out of the way here. Okay. So below the video that you're watching, there's a little chat box. Let me just type something in it. If you guys can let me know there if everything looks good and sounds good and all that. I am using a different setup today, so I just kind of a computer setup. So I just want to make sure everything's working as intended. So if someone can just type in the chat that everything's working fine, they can hear my voice and all that, then we'll be good to go. Hey, Keith. Happy Sunday indeed. All sounds good. Okay. So for any new people, generally what we do when I do these streams, I try to do them, maybe once a week, maybe every 2 weeks or something like that. We try to sit and go through and do what I call feeding the bot, right? And essentially my style of trading, to anyone who's new or anyone who doesn't know, is I pick everything that I want to have traded the night before. I plug that into a system, and then I give a bot that I have linked from Trade Ideas over to my prop firm, and I say, okay, these are the stocks I want to trade, and I only want to trade if they meet a certain criteria. And then that's all of my input, I guess, for the trading day. And then turn that on during the day, and it's going to watch basically. Oh, did everything crash? Crud. Hello. Someone could let me know if we are back. Sorry about that. It looks like we got disconnected there. Present everyone. Okay. So if someone could type and see if we're back, I see the screen up there and it seems to be showing everything again. I was trying to stream kind of remotely from a little tiny laptop, and it looks like it's just not tough enough, so that's fine. All right, so I'll just quickly go over again what I was talking about, and I'm going to pop out this chat, and I'll, any questions you guys have, ask them in here, and I'll get to them in just a second. So, yeah, so essentially my trading style, above just the algos that I've built with trade ideas, and I have those auto traded. I'll sit through and I'll take a look, and I'll try to figure out what stocks I want to trade and under what criteria I would want to trade them the next day. We're going to plug that into create a list. We're going to plug that list into an alert window, and we're going to plug that alert window into the bot. So it's a bit of a roundabout way, but the benefit is that at the end, there will be a list of these are the stocks that I want you to buy if they reach this criteria, not just price, but full criteria, and sell if they reach a different criteria. So one question already in the chat: how long have I been trading using this? I've been trading using trade ideas for about 10 years now, off and on. The algo stuff, I think I started a year and a half, 2 years ago. And then this addition to the algo stuff, 4 or 5 months is kind of when I just thought of the idea. Ever since then, it's been very encouraging. But yeah, I just kind of came up with the idea one day out of the blue. So it's been fairly new, this particular style, but so far so good. So the first thing we always do when we look at this, if I'm going to feed symbols into a bot to be traded under certain scenarios, we should also take a look at kind of the overall market. So unless you are under a rock your entire life, the SPY has been shooting straight up forever. It does not go down for more than 1 day or two ever. So that's just a basic synopsis of the area that we're in, right? Is this kind of slow grind, a lot of shorts getting angry, a lot of them getting fed up, which is, if you're a tinfoil hat wearer, kind of like I am, it's kind of what the market likes. So this slow grind becomes harder to trade because there's not really much two-sided action. Like for me personally, I love volatile markets, more back and forth, so that I can build a long list and a short list and hit the long list and hit the short list and all of that stuff. So a bit of a frustrating market. We'll quickly go through some of the major ETFs. Like we go through financials. We can see financials again has been this gap, ignore. I think this was some sort of special dividend or something, but financials look about the same as the SPY. Energy is relatively weaker than everything else. Same with gold. Oil in general, right, which is a lot part of the energy, has been relatively weaker. And tech has been relatively stronger, right? So again, I don't really make any trading decisions off that, but I think it's a bit silly if you're trading the stock market and you at least every day don't take a look at those major, right, tech, financials, oil, and just see where everything sits, right? So relatively speaking, tech has been beating the rest to push the markets up. So again, mainly what I'm going to be looking for is, if you look at just this extended move here, I I can't, as a trader, I can't bring myself to be buying breakouts or really buying momentum or anything in a market that has been doing this. I think any risk in this market is to the downside. But what I'm going to be doing today is we're going to be searching almost exclusively for overbought and oversold stocks, and we're going to be plugging those into the bot for kind of revision to the mean days, right? So, if I have a stock that looks like the Qs did here, I might say, okay, if it breaks the low of this candle, I want to short for just a small move. And again, with the VIX, the way it's been, which is to say at all-time lows all the time, I'm not expecting much from these moves, right? So I basically, the beauty of the algo trading that I do is it's very robotic, it's very emotionless, and it's very rule driven, which is fantastic. The downside to bot trading is that the bot is 100% stagnant based off mathematics, based off statistics, and doesn't really look at these nuances in the market. So I can take a look at the VIX and I can say, okay, we're very low. We're probably not going to get much of moves. So it doesn't make sense to really swing for the fences with this style of trading. It makes much more sense to try to just pull out, little tiny sums of money over and over again, keep yourself afloat. When the VIX spikes again, that's when you can start kind of swinging for the fences a bit more. So again, big ramble, giant ramble, basically just to give you how I feel about the markets. And I think that's kind of huge, right? So again, this trading style, last week we made a automated algorithm that was just purely off numbers, purely off back testing, all this kind of stuff. So there's that for some people. This is more for the people who want to take and look at the market and talk about it the way I'm doing now. But tomorrow during the trading day, everything's going to be automated, right? So that's what we're trying to do here. And again, this can be easily done with Trade Ideas if you use Interactive Brokers. I think, someone correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't been following it super closely because I don't, but I think they have a beta version out now where you can use the bot for Interactive Brokers. If that's the case, then that's all you need, a premium subscription and then Interactive Brokers. As always, just full disclosure, I don't want to ever be that guy who's perceived as greasy in any way. I don't work for Trade Ideas, but I do have an affiliate link, which I'm actually getting right now. If you're interested in what you want and what you see here, and you want to try Trade Ideas, and you use my list here. Get through here. Use my link and you use the code on Para TV at checkout. That will, it cuts a bit back my way. So again, I use the program because I love it. If you see it and you think you might like it and you use my link, it doesn't hurt me. So fine tune the daily filter screen. Yeah, I did get your email about the earnings strat. I need to figure that one out. I'm gonna look at it more next week. I think it's very complicated. But that's the I just need a little bit more time to look at it. Remind me if I don't get back to you by like mid next week that I've been slacking, but I'm definitely looking at it for you. Keith says fine tune a cross above support and resistance would be nice, but the issue with that is that's only an eighth of the equation, right? Is what alert to use. I need to know under what situation you want to actually trade these, right? So I can't just plug in that alert and then optimize it down. That's not really a full trade idea, right? So I like that you're looking at an alert, but at the same time, you want to make sure you're generating a full, I want it to cross above daily support and resistance, given that blah, blah, blah. I think that would help out if you're fine tuning strategy. So Again, market at all-time highs every day. It seems like Groundhog Day at all-time highs, VIX at all-time lows, tech beating energy, financials in about the middle. That's the synopsis. So next step is I want to go through what I had on the list yesterday, and this is what I do every night, and see if there's anything worth keeping. And again, I'm going to go, if you go to Trade Ideas, Account Management, you'll get this list, and you can just click on Symbol List. And this is how you create your own list. And then what I do for anyone interested is I build an alert window. And inside the alert window, I click on Symbol List and I say trade only the following symbols. And I have a discretionary trade long and a discretionary trade short. And for this, what I want to see for the long is I want to see the after the first 15 minutes of trading, but before lunch, I want to see it breaking resistance in the top end of yesterday's range is basically what the criteria are to buy these. So let's take a look. So we put AEM again. So this is the list I had on Friday. And full disclosure, Friday was not a fantastic day for me. I think it was a break even, maybe after commissions, a small loser. Just wasn't reading it correctly. And it's just kind of the way it goes. Anybody who you're watching on YouTube who tells you they make money, they're 100% accurate or something like this, they probably have a strategy where they're just like buying stocks as they crash against them, and they'll get murdered someday by the market. I'm more of a risk 1 to make 1.5 to 2 type of guy. It means less consistent winners, but you never get that big punch in the face. So again, we're going to go through the list. I'll tell you what triggered and what didn't, and where the kind of losses came from. AEM, it's come down from 51 down to 41, pretty much straight. I'm going to leave this in the list for tomorrow. We didn't get a trigger on Friday. We did get a bit of a volume spike, and a pretty decent green day. You can see that we kind of based here all afternoon. And then when we broke above this area, we had a pretty decent surge. So even something like this would be enough. That's 40 cents, just fantastic. So just a quick, I guess, walk around the screen. These are the alert windows that if I wasn't algo trading, I would be watching come Monday. If you want to do this discretionary, you just follow the exact same steps I'm doing now, but just leave these windows up and they will tell you exactly what setups have triggered. Because there's some people out there that want to more automate their trading, but they don't want to let a robot take care of it. So this would be the perfect middle ground for those people. Here's a 15-minute chart of whatever I've clicked on, a daily chart. Here's a single stock window, which I think is something that's really underutilized. You can make it so that it links to whatever you're clicking, and then you can customize these columns to kind of see what is interesting to you, right? So I put in average range, when the earnings were, average range percentage, stock twits mentioned, options volume today, these type of thing. How much it's moved today versus how much it's moved regular days, all things that I just like to scan, right? So a quick scan of AEM, after looking at the chart and saying, okay, well, I think we could get moving, maybe even a pop to 42.5 would be absolutely fantastic as a day trade. I can take a look and I can say, okay, well, the volume was 2.5 million, and that's about 1.5 times what it normally does, right? I can take a look at all this. An average true range of $1.77 is fantastic. All this stuff makes things super easy. KPTI. Oh yeah, I was looking for a continuation on Friday. Nothing happened there. It's obviously gapped down, so I'm not going to take a look at that. NKTR, this was actually one of the losers. It triggered long, I think in and around 15. It didn't hurt too bad, but it did stop me out, I think, for like 20 cents or so of loss. I'm not going to put that back in. RH, this thing I got out when it was kind of down here at the end of the day after the bot buying in this area. I was looking at this strong move in the pullback and hoping for a continuation. Didn't happen. Not going to put it back in. I have some low floaters here that I was just watching. I'm going to just leave them out. I was trying to see if I could kind of make the bot trade low floaters. Didn't work out too well. SNCR, massive pullback from 49 down to 25, and just this bleed of red candles. If we get back up into this range and start to show strength, I kind of like the look of that, so I'm going to add that in as well. Yeah, Jay. Jay's just responding to Keith. I think Keith wanted to build an optimized strategy off of it. And the only thing that I've kind of noted for him is that the alert is only a small percentage of the strategy, right? It's to build a strategy, he needs to develop more of a theory of why he wants to buy things that are crossing resistance and why he wants to short things that are crossing support. Before he can build a strategy based off that, right? Going purely based off what the numbers say with no trading idea behind it, I think can get you in a lot of trouble. So, all right. So taking a look at what the synopsis was, we were looking for very oversold and overbought stuff to kind of fade because we think the market is the market is extended in one way or the other. We don't think trading, again, by we, I mean me, we don't think trading momentum is the way to go in this market. I think trading pullbacks and trading oversold and overbought is a good part of this market. Any of these scans that you see and you want, let me know. I can't share all of them because some of them have custom formulas built in, but I'm not the kind of guy who's going to be like, oh, if you want this scan, give me $300. If I can give it to you, I'll paste it in the room below this chat right now. So what we're going to start with is consecutive down days, right? So again, we're looking for overbought, oversold. So I have a simple top list that shows the amount things have been up consecutive and the amount things that would be down consecutively. So I'm just going to take a scan through. This would be, not enough movement in this to make it worthwhile, but this would be the kind of stock that I'm looking at, right? We've gone crashing down over 10 days into a support area. You look for a small bounce and you take that. That would be amazing. That already happened, and it really wasn't enough movement, to be honest. Well, Keith, I definitely fine-tune a scan for you if you want it, but I definitely need more than just it's crossing resistance or crossing support, right? Things cross resistance and support every day, all the time. So that alone is just not enough for an idea. That's like, you're asking for a book and you said, what if there was a guy in the book? I need more of a premise to go off of. It might be a good synopsis. So we're not seeing a lot that's been pulling back, which makes a lot of sense, to be honest, because we looked at the market. It's just been hitting all-time high after all-time high after all-time high. So I expect finding things that have pulled back significantly is going to be a lot harder than things that have run up significantly. And this is one thing that I'll say is just a bit of a note for people. Again, I mentor a lot of traders. We talk a fair amount. Everybody loves the fade. Everybody seems to really love the contrary, the fade move. This is my way of fading the market, where I will trade with the direction of the trend on the short term if I think profit will come in the long term. And I'll try to find an example of that. Now this scan here is one that I can't share, but it's a hammer scan, and I can't share it because it's got a lot of custom formulas. So if I give you the link, it won't look nice. But what it's looking for is it's looking for just these hammer type candles on the daily. So something like this, I'm going to add this to the list here over here. And again, I look for about 5 longs and 5 shorts. That will give me about 3 to 4 trades a day. You know, if I can have 3 trades a day, if I can make money on 2 and lose money on 1, that's perfect days kind of trading for me. So what I'm seeing here in this KHC, Kraft and Heinz, we had this big gap up that ripped the face off of everybody, right? We had a nice long trend and then a gap down. I think everybody was looking for this gap to be a change in trend. And the next day we just gapped up and continued to run up. And then we've been pulling back. And if you take a look at this relative volume number, the relative volume is 0.48. So what that means is it's done about exactly half of what it normally does in the way of volume, which is what you like to see when something is pulling back into a range. And you can see that we have a lot of bottoming type candles down here. You know, it seems like every time we drop under 91 bucks, the buyers come back in, right? Each and every one of these days for the past 4 days. So I'm going to feed this kind of into the bot and say, okay, if we get a break of resistance in this type of area here, then I think we might continue, kind of the same as we were looking at with AEM, right? Is that, you know, I'm looking for a counter trend move that's going to be small relative to somebody who's like a swing trader or something, for example. I want 1 day of strength, right? Got a question. Is there a way that I can filter stocks that gap down in yesterday's pre-market? You can just say, right, you can just go, not so much yesterday's pre-market, but you can just take stocks and say, I want yesterday's change previous day, right? And just add a filter and just make this a big like negative number, right? So now you're only going to see stocks where the stock price was down at least 3% yesterday. Maybe there was none with that criteria, but that'd be the best way to look at it, is look for stocks that were down pretty big. The other way you could do it is if you scanned at night and you just took the generic gapper scan that's already built in, right? If you go to gaps, if you took any one of these and you scan them at night, it's going to show you that day, everything that's gapped down. You can also just load up this gapper scan, and if you right click, you can hit time frame and click use historical date. So you can just go back and see whatever is whatever date you're looking at, what the gaps were there. So there's a couple ways you can do that. So we have 3 currently on our list. We have AEM, SNCR, and KHC. So we're looking for 2 more. This IRM looks nice. It's kind of a low average true range, 54 cents. What I like about it is, right, this nice strong breakout here and then a pullback and 3 days of not being able to kind of get under this this last breakout level. So it doesn't move very much, but I'm going to feed that in there as well. Again, we're looking for just things that are pulling back nicely where we think there's going to be a nice kind of little bounce off of. The beauty of this is that you can do whatever trading style you want, right? I'm looking at building how to trade gappers using this thing as well. So far, not a lot of success, to be honest, but I definitely think there's something there where you could wake up in the morning and you could scan through all the gappers and say, okay, well, if this thing's around this price and moves, then it might be something to watch. I think the last one will be this ITW. Just a gap up and a nice kind of clean pullback on declining volume. Tried to get into the gap here on Friday and just put in a nice bottoming tail. So I think if we break this around, around kind of 134.50, we could get to 135, and above 135, maybe we get a little bit of breakout. But again, I have pretty tight profit targets on this stuff right now because just where the VIX is and everything like that, I don't expect a whole lot of movement. So what you'll notice is in this top right-hand corner, this list is going to update pretty soon. And that will just give us what the new list is, which also means that it's fed in here as well. So let's quickly look at the short side. And then as we get quick doing this stuff, I'm going to just open up the questions. Maybe we'll look at some strategies. Maybe I'll talk a little bit more about Keith or about 9board6, but what they are looking at. I think most of these things on the short list I'm actually going to leave here. So this is going to be pretty quick, I think. BMY I've had on for the past 4 days and just hasn't triggered yet. It's pretty much a straight run up 10 points to close the gap here, and we have some resistance here. And it's just kind of been farting around this 57 area for a long time. And this is the big thing. If you want to take one thing away from watching myself, right? Because my trading style is going to be a lot different than a lot of other people. I'm not big into the low floaters. I'm not big into that kind of stuff. But one thing I've noticed across a lot of traders, and this is something that I think everybody should write down right now, is just make an argument for the other side. I remember reading a book a while back where one of the traders was actually a ex-lawyer. And he said that actually helped him out significantly when it came to his trading, because when you're a lawyer, they teach you to argue the other side, right? They say you're not prepared until you can argue that other side. So that's essentially kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. And that's what I do with my trading now, is I always try to look at whatever the other side is. So when I'm looking at BMY, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, if I was long this, right? If after the gap down, a very typical trade is to take something like this as it breaks into the gap and then, hold it until there's a reason to sell it. So if I'm in this stock here and I'm in from 50 and it's gone to 57 in 2 weeks without stopping, I'm going to have my finger on the trigger to unload some of, if not all of, my position. So again, all I'm looking for is to ride that wave. And again, as day traders, I think it's very common for us to try to reinvent the wheel. I think it's very important that we don't try to reinvent the wheel. We try to look at what we think is going to cause something to move dramatically. And I think something that's going to move dramatically is going to be profit taking, right? So I'm looking for profit taking on the short. I'm looking for profit taking on the long, right? So here, I think if we start to break under this area, that some profit taking might come in, right? I'm not saying, oh, this is going to be the top. We're going to crash all the way back to 47. I don't know, nor do I care. I'm looking for a small kind of pullback in this area. 1 day's trade, give me 50 cents on the trade. Let me do that once or twice a day, and I'm a happy camper. So just, again, I like to I like to explain my philosophy so people can understand, even if they don't agree with it, at least they understand that what I'm doing has been thought out. And I'm not just saying, oh, this chart looks nice and this is why, right? I'm looking at the other guys and I'm saying, okay, when are you going to buy? When are you going to sell? I think people might come in to take profits if we break this area. So that is what I will feed the bot into doing. And again, all of these have criteria. So I'm not just plugging these in and saying if it reaches this price, buy, if it reaches this price, sell. It has to be in this range I'm describing, and it has to be breaking support, right? There's a lot of different things that are going to be required. That's why of these 10 symbols I'm going to plug in, I'm probably going to get 3 trades, let's say. ESPR, I'm going to put back in. This thing has absolutely been insane. Just absolutely insane. I put this in the watch list yesterday, but you can see it never got down to these lows and never broke support, obviously, in this area. So there was no trade. Again, there's just at some point, this has got to just pull back, right? And I think the perfect example is if you look at this chart right here, this is what I want, right? I want it to kind of break down below this area. I want it to crash back down. I'm going to be out at the end of the day, so I don't care what happens after that, right? I just want to see profit takers come in. So I think we might get some of that there. So ESPR goes back in. LLY, I'm not going to put back in. This actually triggered on Friday right here, right at this 83.41. Pulled back a fair amount. I wasn't around to take profits on it and ended up costing me on this one. I don't like how it had a solid red day and then reversed and closed right at its high. I think we could actually maybe go a little bit higher, but I'm not doing momentum plays right now, so it's not happening. MASI is going to go back in as well. Right, you can tell there was a lot of MASI actually triggered here on Friday and broke down. It triggered at in the 60s, I think 60s or 70s, dropped pretty significantly. Again, I moved the stop to break even, trying to be greedy, came back and got me. It's kind of where I'm learning to take profits quicker in this market because it's such a low VIX market. I did a lot of thinking after Friday. Again, I mentioned Friday wasn't a great day. Last week wasn't my best week either, to be honest. So I think the change I'm going to make is shrink the profit targets. But again, I think if we break under this base, this intraday base here tomorrow, we could definitely push down. And again, I'm looking for the breadcrumbs of this move, right? We've gone from 75 to damn near 95. I'm looking for a pull down back of like 50 cents, and that's it. MON is going to go back in as well. You'll see a lot of these moves are the same, right? And it's just that plan that we did at the outset saying we think the market might be a bit extended. We think the VIX is a little bit low. We're going to try to look to scalp counter trend moves. And that's it. And again, just scalp. MON, I like the look of the 7-point rip we had. Great volume. I like this intraday resistance or support right here. So basically, I'm going to be telling the bot that if we break this, I want in. Again, hopefully that 50-cent move lower would be fantastic. So we didn't really actually have to scan yet at all. And PNTA, I think, is just going to fart around for a bit. But the scans that I use to find things that are done the other way are, again, the exact opposite. So this is most consecutive up days, which just tells me things that are up. This is on this far right candle. Right, this thing has been up 6 days in a row. This guy's been up 5 days in a row. Not seeing a lot here. So the opposite to the hammer strategy I have is the middle finger, which again is just looking for a big topping tail like this. And I'm just going to put this guy in, I think. Right, we had a move from 45 to 55. We had a nice topping tail here. If we look at the intraday chart, we can see a well-defined support area kind of at this 54.80 area. So if we break this, I think we might get my little move. So 40 minutes is not bad for a day's work, considering that's it. Now I just kind of let it trade. I'm going to mess with these gap ups tomorrow. I'm going to try to fade. I think a lot of these kind of gaps. Look for shorts on the gap ups and look for longs on the gaps down. I'm playing these like I'm literally playing these with 10 shares just to try to get a feel for how I can build this strategy in. And maybe it's something that I start kind of like releasing a bit of report on. What am I missing here? Oh, INSO, IS. And what was the name of that? Oh, IONS. I typed it in there wrong. IONS. And there we go. So just to wrap up for long, we're looking for AEM, just a little bounce after this nice pullback. We're looking at IRM, same type of chart. Looks like we had a little double top. We pulled back into the pivot, the kind of breakout pivot, and the bottoming tails kind of below this area. So I think above here, we're just going to look for pop. ITW, same kind of move, right? We're using the gap as support. Closed really strong. Nice resistance area here on the intraday. I think above this, things look fantastic. KHC, right? Big gap, nice pullback into the gap area. I think we could have a little turn. SNCR, this thing's just been getting the crap beaten out of it from $50 down to 25. Nice little bounce will be fine. BMY, gap down, ripped all the way up to fill the gap, looking for a small pullback. ESPR just doubled in price, right? A small pullback should come eventually. INOS kind of hit its head here on highs and pulled back. I think it might continue before firing up there. MASI, nice strong move, just very resilient. Again, I'm looking for just the tiniest pullback. And MON, same type of thing, right? Big move here. So that's it. That's kind of my entire day's work. I'll just chill out for a little bit and we'll answer some questions. And then I'll take off and enjoy the rest of my Sunday. So we got a message here. Do you have that strat separated for the 8 in I remember I emailed you that strat. I have a version of that in the bot. I'll say that. What I sent you was kind of a raw form because you were looking for a place to get started. And I'm not going to share the best stuff, obviously, but something like that I have integrated into the bot where it's a revision to the mean type of strategy. As the name applies, it just looks for things that are very extended from the moving average and just tries to get a little snapback for like the next 15 minutes. Good strategy. The problem with it and the thing that you'll have to take a look at is you have to account for halts. When you're counter trend trading, some things are just going to halt on you and it's just going to be part of it. So something like that, you're looking to trade very small and have many trades throughout the day. So that it smooths the returns of it. So if you're in like a high commission broker or a slow broker or something like that, I wouldn't recommend it. But the prop firm I pay next to nothing in commission. So it's a lot easier to do that kind of revision to the mean style scalping. So I do have a version of that. Yes, not the full thing, not the exact thing that you have, but a version of it for sure. So again, right below the video you're watching, there's just a little text box. So come on in and type something up. I'll kind of hang out, I guess, for the next 15 minutes or so, and we'll answer some questions, and then I'll be good. And also, I guess if there's, I've gotten a bunch of emails for this particular scan. So I'm going to post that in. That's a top list that essentially sorts things by short interest. You know, WTW, for example, has an absolute insane short interest. And after this gap and this kind of base up here, I think, you know, things like this can get wild. If you're a swing trader, it's sometimes fun to be on the side of the short interest. I don't know if as traders you've ever been on the side of a short squeeze. It doesn't happen often, but it's absolutely fantastic when it does. Take a look here. So again, any questions at all? Doesn't have to be about algo trading. Could be about trade ideas, trading in general, anything like that. Fire away. And if you coming in late, or if you miss something, or just want to watch something back later or something like that, it takes about 3 hours, I think, for YouTube to have this up. After that, it will just be watchable. I don't really have to do anything on my end. It's just how long it takes them to process it, which I think is directly related to the length of the live stream. Did I trade Snap this week? No. And I think if you did, you're a gambler. The thing about IPOs that I don't like is there's no data to go off of, right? There's zero data. You know, there's no support areas, resistance areas. There's no way you can run any statistics to see what happens. And the other thing is these tech guys, they're hard to find shorts for. And if you look at pretty much every tech IPO in the last however many years, they've generally opened up and then crashed. Right, Facebook, right, was legendary for it. You know, they opened, I think it was it $70 and fell to 38. Baba opened at 115 and almost got cut in half. You know, Twitter was the same thing. It opened up and got slapped. So, you know, Snapchat being the same industry, it would worry me to trade it. You know, maybe after a couple weeks when you actually have some support areas and resistance areas to play off of. But the fact that it's hard to find shorts, and, you know, the insane range, and the fact that there's no data behind it, I really think it's borderline gambling to trade these type of things now. If you have a strategy that you've back tested across all IPOs, then great. I just think it's kind of hard to be honest. TWLO. Yeah, I think everybody's been watching this Twilio. You know, insane short float. Trade Ideas here says 100% short, which is not possible. So there must be something wrong there. But I have a reminder set if we get back up in around the 35 area to take a look again. At some point, we might smash through this, and that I think will rip some people's faces off. But I don't even watch them, I guess, when they're down here. I don't even take a look. I want to see things that are kind of up in the high end of the range, which is, right, you could sort that scan that I just gave you. If you wanted, you could say short float at least 30%, and then you can go sort by just say position in 10-day range, 20-day, sort by. Right, so this is kind of how I would look at it, where I know all of these things are going to have above a 30% short interest, and are going to be at the high of their 20-day range. I think this kind of makes everything a little more interesting. Because yeah, Twilio, right? It's just kind of in the middle of this congestion. As long as it lives around here, I just not interested. All right, well, if there are any more questions, type them in now. If not, I'm just going to share the place to sign up for Trade Ideas and my kind of discount code. You can use any discount code, so if there's a better one out there, go nuts, just as long as you use that link. That supports me. Again, as I get more efficient with this and they stop being, 2.5 hour long live streams, I will sorry, I was just reading something. As they get shorter, I might start doing them after the market closes. Now that they're not 2.5 hours, they're more near an hour. Question: what's the average per day your bot can produce per month? Well, that's all strategy dependent, right? In theory, unlimited. Scalability, if you're looking at outside investors, you'd have to take a look at liquidity rates of stuff that you're trading, that type of thing. But it's all about what strategies you put into it, and then essentially what is the benefit to bringing in outside investors, right? I'm currently working with a prop firm that fully funds me, so you can do the same thing as well. So you might just want to take a look at what is the benefit of having outside investors as opposed to an outside prop firm, right? Are you going to get a better split? Or is it just that you're going to trade a lot bigger? And if you're going to trade a lot bigger, you need to make sure every strategy reports or supports that liquidity. I have some that would, and then I have some that are more scalps that may not support like a really high liquidity. So when you're talking outside investors, you have to start looking into scalability as well, because that's the only way to make it worth your while as a trader. If I'm trading someone else's money, they're going to want, probably half at least of the profits. And then to do that, you're going to have to, in theory, trade twice as big, just to break even. So to make money on that kind of trade, you're going to need to trade almost 3 times as big. So, it's something to manage, right? So again, you can fire me an email about that. And again, fire me an email around Wednesday if I haven't got back to you about that strategy. Just looking into it, I think it's going to be very complicated. I think it might be easier to create a scan that will give you things that are showing potential than it will be to actually automate something like that. One thing to note is just because it's something you see working doesn't mean it's an automatable strategy, right? Maybe it's something that the human eye needs to pick up, which is important to note that just because it's a trading strategy that a human can do doesn't mean a robot's going to be able to find the same setups and filter them out correctly. So, all right, guys, if that is it, I'll shut it down. I'm going to also put my email in the room down below here. If there's anything more that you wanted to ask, or you just kind of wanted to be anonymous and you didn't want to type, let me know. You can just fire me an email and I'll get back to you. If I miss your email, just resend it. Sometimes I get a lot at once and I might miss them. So I will check you guys out later. I might do something like this around Wednesday. I guess the other way to do is if you follow me on Twitter, which is just the same name. I usually I don't tweet about what I'm having for lunch. I usually just tweet about some stocks that I've picked the night before and the next time I will be streaming. So you can check that out as well. And don't worry, you won't get spammed. So, all right, guys, have a good day. Trade safe out there next week.